Now it's time to get into a little preview of a different variety, and that is Joel's free agency preview. Joel, you've been writing some pieces for the website here, I think previewing every position upcoming for free agency. And, I have decided, I'm ready to make this announcement here today. We are reading again in 2026. We were reading again in 2025. We're still reading in 2026. So the people out there do need to make sure that they check out your full write-ups on the website. But you have the top 5 fantasy free agents here and their best fits. Let's go 5 to 1 and talk through these players and where you might like to see or might predict that they land. Get me with number 5 here on the list.
Big name at number 5 in the fantasy community. We're going to go Kyle Pitts. The one tight end on this list, probably the biggest tight end in the free agency market right now. But I want him to stay in Atlanta, honestly, just for his hope. We saw at the end of the year, the last 6 games, part of it was the quarterback change. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be next year in Atlanta, but 51 targets in those last 6 games came on. Even with Drake London back, was still getting the volume there. But I do really like Stefanski coming in. That's a lot of times the questions of the offseason is the coaching changes. I like Zach Robinson for this Atlanta offense and like him for Tampa Bay. Shout out there. But Stefanski coming in, obviously, Harold Fannin Jr. was the tight end 6 as a rookie this year in half PPR, right behind Pitts. The 3 years before that, the Browns have had a tight end 1 in fantasy 4 straight seasons. Pitts, I think it's a really good fit with Stefanski here. And they still get the offensive coordinator that Cleveland had too in Tommy Rees.
Yeah, 2 things. Number 1, what a graphic. You and Kyle Pitts look great on this graphic that we've got here on YouTube. If you're listening on the audio, you got to check out here us on YouTube. This is great. The graphics is awesome. Number 2, though, I'm with you that this is good for Kyle Pitts if he goes back to Atlanta. I think the offense fits him well. I think Stefanski with the move tight end stuff will be really good. I'm very fascinated, and we don't have to get into this now because got a lot of time to pull this thread. I'm very interested to see how Drake London is deployed in this offense because he was deployed in a great way with Zach Robinson off that Rams tree. This is a little bit of a different system. Drake London's awesome. It won't matter, but it might matter a little bit on the margins, but it'll be fascinating to see how Pitts and London interact together because they never quite could pop off together for this Falcons team under the previous offense. So that will definitely be something to watch there, but it would be good for Pitts to go back to Atlanta. Hit me with your 4th player, a player and the team fit potentially in free agency.
Going to go Travis Etienne Jr. here. An interesting one. I feel like most of the talk is he is not going to return to Jacksonville. Just want to say, think Jacksonville would be great for him, just from what we saw this year with Liam Cohen in particular. But if he doesn't return, I wouldn't mind him suiting up for the Saints next season with Kellen Moore. Really good offense coach for fantasy running backs there. Really interesting one, actually. In terms of production, the Saints were 32nd this year, and the Saints running backs production compared to every other team. 2 years ago, in the Chargers in 2023, Kellen Moore was also dead last with an aging Austin Eckler in that Chargers offense. The reason I say it's still good is because the other 3 seasons besides that, in these last 5, they've been number 5 in fantasy running back points, 2nd in running back points, and 7th in those Kellen Moore offenses. We think the Cowboys back in the day with Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, and then obviously Saquon last season was the number 1 guy. So if we can get Travis Etienne in this offense, it's high pace. With Shuck in this offense, 13th in total offense. So I would say that's impressive. I don't think it's going to be a bad offense at all next year. So I think it's a really good spot for him where he's been RB7 and then RB39 and RB12 this year in points per game for those PPR leagues. So I like the receiving options here in terms of going to him in this Kellen Moore spot, but also just in general, I like this offense for him.
I like it. I like this a lot. 83 attempts at outside zone last year, which was really good for Travis Etienne with Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars of New Orleans Saints. 83 attempts. Obviously, the success wasn't there. Their backs were not very good last year. I do think a running back like Travis Etienne would fit pretty well in this offense. We're going to stay at the running back position for your 3rd ranked player here.
Yeah, we've already talked to him today. It is going to be Kenneth Walker, an interesting one just because of the Charbonnet injury. I would say next year in redraft, it'd be better, I would say, if he, Charbonnet missing time, obviously he's better in redraft. For dynasty purposes, it might be a negative that Charbonnet got hurt because it could mean that he goes back to Seattle, which you don't know, but I'm guessing Kubiak won't be there. McDonald's probably will be, obviously. So we'll see what happens in Seattle there. But if he doesn't go back to Seattle, Houston and Washington, I would say, are 2 to watch there. Houston, the volume is there. They don't have some other key pieces like the offensive line, but the volume. We've seen guys like Woody Marks this year get 20 touches, mainly on the ground. But if he's getting 20 carries in an offense, I think that helps him a lot in terms of his playmaking and ability there to break one. Washington, I really like this, just the scoring offense in general. If it comes back with Jaden Daniels, a healthy Jaden Daniels, and just kind of opening up those lanes. Like we see Baltimore was more middle of the road in terms of their offensive line this year, but in terms of their yards before contact, they were number one because of Lamar Jackson. So even if that threat to run that Jaden Daniels brings kind of opens up a little more holes, and if you can give Kenneth Walker space to break those, I really like it there in an offense that would be better than average, I think, still with Jaden Daniels back.
Yeah, I like either of these two fits here. I wonder if the Seahawks, whether the Charbonnet injury will change their mind about bringing Kenneth Walker back, because I think they like him. I just don't think they love him. You know, they have plenty of cap space. Mm-hmm. They have more cap space than they probably need, but still, you think maybe they want to re-roll in the draft for a running back that they've selected in terms of the coaching staff. But yeah, I love either one of these spots here. Texans, Commanders, these are two teams that I think should and could make big swings at running back, and they're two teams that definitely need some juice at the running back position. With Kenneth Walker, for all of his flaws, he brings the juice. All right, let's get to your number 2 player here.
We're going to have a little convo here about just receivers in general. The only like 2 big time names is George Pickens, which we're expecting to go back to Dallas, hopefully, and Mike Evans, which kind of same thing, that veteran, probably going to retire as a Buck. Most likely will re-sign there. Pickens, obviously, we want him in Dallas. He was the wide receiver 4 this season, even with CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 7. So there wasn't like that big of a drop-off, even though Lamb, when he was out, Pickens was incredible. Still the wide receiver 7 when CeeDee Lamb was healthy. So that connection with Dak is there. But a lot of the things I like to talk about in the offseason is just the changes or lack thereof. And for receiver, if you have the same play caller, the same offense, same quarterback, same weapons around you, that's good if you're already good, which is what Pickens is. So like it there for him, but it'll be interesting to see where guys like Alec Pierce, Wan'Dale Robinson, Christian Kirk, Shaheed maybe. Do you have any like that you like there in terms of maybe potential fits down the line?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think it's going to be a rather sizable offseason for receiver movement. I think there's a lot of trade candidates. I think there's a lot of potential cut candidates as well. You know, a guy like Brandon Ayuk, obviously he's going to get cut. I don't know who wants to take on the Brandon Ayuk situation and some of just the weirdness there, but he's a big name that will be available. Is BTJ available for a trade? I think he could be. And Alec Pierce, one thing I just wanted to mention with him, I think because I'm with you, Pickens, he'll go back to Dallas. I think Evans doesn't. If he could retire, but if he plays again, I think he plays for the Bucs. So Pierce, probably the number 1 guy on the market. I do wonder if he's actually going to end up going from underrated to overrated a little bit, because great player, but still has some flaws in his game and maybe not a complete number 1 receiver. Very interested to see his contract. But Joel, I've actually been thinking about this. I think there's a pretty good chance that Michael Pittman actually ends up getting released or traded by the Colts, and they use those salary savings to bring back Pierce, which would be interesting for a guy like Josh Downs, who I think could play the flanker position if Pittman moves on, and it would relieve them really shallow at receiver with basically just Pierce and Downs in that situation, because they traded A.D. Mitchell. Ashton Doolin's a nice player, but more of a rotational guy. So I do think it's going to be kind of a big offseason for receiver movement, and I think Pierce right now projects to be the number 1 available free agent receiver, because, yeah, I'm with you. Pickens is not getting out of Dallas. He will get franchise tag or extended, period, end of story.
Yeah, I feel like Pierce is really good at what he does, but I don't know if I'd fully expect him to like grow into being a wide receiver 1 on a team. If Pittman were to move on, I think it does help Downs a lot, but also Tyler Warren on the inside. Like if he gets a volume bump, just more of a focus in year 2, that would be awesome for him.
And a lot of teams could use Michael Pittman as well, so that would be an interesting player if he gets loose or traded, anything like that. All right, your number 1 free agent and his potential fit, who is it?
Oh, you know who it is, and you know the landing spot as well. It's going to be Breece Hall, the landing spot that everyone wants in fantasy, the Kansas City Chiefs. Breece Hall, he deserves some good luck. He has not had it throughout his career. He's been so good. One of my favorite players. He has 13 goal line attempts in the last 3 seasons. And it's not because he's not the goal line back. It's because the Jets are never there. So if he moves to an offense that's like New York, where he's been an RB1, but this year, still an RB2, to a Kansas City Chiefs offense, which I really like the moves they made in terms of their coaching. Moving on from Matt Nagy, going back to Eric Bieniemy. Even with Mahomes coming off the ACL, great spot for him. He's guys like Kareem Hunt recently, Isaiah Pacheco, CH, all top 20 running backs in fantasy. If you get a guy like Breece Hall in there who's actually taking the volume and the talent that they got there in that offense, be beautiful. Andy Reid in his career, it's been a long one, but there's been 10 seasons where he has a running back score 18 points per game. That's a lot. So it could be a top 5 running back season for Breece Hall if he lands in the spot and kind of has that bell cow workload.
Look, I love it. I think it'd be awesome. I think it should have happened last year. I especially like Breece Hall fitting with Eric Bieniemy, who's a great running back coach. Maybe he has his flaws as a offensive, like a play calling offensive coordinator. Great running back coach. I think it'd be great if it happens. You know what makes me nervous though, Joel? The Jets have $66 million in cap space, and the running back franchise tag is going to be like $14 million. Dude, I kind of think that the Jets might just say, okay, Breece, you want to play somewhere else? Too bad. The franchise tag exists, and I kind of think they slap the tag on him, which I know that's a really negative way for me to end the show, but I'm kind of thinking that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, you know what they say. When you are rebuilding, you got to start by paying a ton of money to running backs, and that's how you do it.
That always works. Yeah, it always works out that way. That's perfect. All right, Joel, hell of a show, buddy. Appreciate you doing this as always. Like I mentioned, people should definitely check out not just your work on the Yahoo site. You've got the free agency piece up there, but what else are you working on right now that people can check out?
Yeah, lots of articles, but videos will be back soon. Some more YouTube coming back, getting back on the TikTok social videos. So especially with free agency coming up, the draft coming up, doing lots of that as well as, the prep for August is a big part of my time.